they were afraid. And they were afraid. Now watch this. As long as the man was acting a fool, long as he was cutting himself, long as screaming, making all kind of noise, Lord, he was acting crazy. Long as he was calling women bees and hoes. Long as he was doing that which was self-destructive. The people were okay with that. But the moment he's seated at the feet of Jesus, dressed right, he ain't sagging no more. In his right mind, the text says they got scared. There is nothing, brothers, this nation fears more than a black man who is clothed in his right mind and hooked up with Jesus. Imagine this brother say, well, what had happened was, for God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten son. Come on, you flat son. And whosoever believes in him shall not perish, but will have everlasting life. I can hear this brother saying, what had happened was, therefore, if any man be in Christ, he is a new creature. Old things are passed away, and behold, all things become new. I can hear him saying what had happened was, for the wages of sin is death, but the gift of God is eternal life. What had happened was, cast your cares upon the Lord, for he cares for you. What had happened was, can't nobody do me like Jesus. Lean on somebody and say, can't nobody do me like the Lord. Bless his name. I need you to know that God is able to deliver you. God is able to lift you up. God is able to bring you out. God is able to make a way out of no way. And so in our text, in the book of Genesis, the Lord calls down from glory because Adam and Eve were hiding because they had disobeyed the Lord. And the Lord says, Adam, where are you? Bless his name. He says, I was hiding. Why were you hiding? Because I was naked. Who told you you were naked? Bless his name. And there's been too many brothers that have been hiding on the corners. You've got a responsibility to go back to Lodabar. Your work's not done just because you made it to the palace. Oh, bless the name of the Lord. But you've got a responsibility to help somebody else make it across. Thank you, Jesus. Don't pull up the ladder because you climbed to the top. Don't blow up the bridge because you made your way across. Thank you, Jesus. But reach your hand back down the ladder and pull somebody else up out of Lodabar. Thank you, Jesus. Thank you, Jesus. That's the name of the Lord. Somebody got to tell themselves, it's all right if you got it now. Just hold it for me. I'll be there to get it after a while. Oh, bless the name of the Lord. Thank you, Jesus. You got to make up in your mind that what God has for me, it is for me. I might not have it right now. I may not get it next week because you might try to stop me from getting it. But if God said it's mine, I want you to know I'm going to get what belongs to me. Sometimes God got to strip so you don't depend. He got to take away from you so you understand how to depend on El Shaddai. Come on in there. Thank you, Jesus. Our young people are dying. Cracked out. Suicide. Homicide. They'll kill you at the drop of a dime. Our jails are full. Yet the crime still runs rampant. Sometimes God got to strip what you got so you don't depend on yourself. Thank you, Jesus. But hey, I have no $100,000 a year. $200,000. I got $1 thoughts, baby. You better think what the Bible says. As a man thinks. 90.7 WTCC. Good morning and welcome to the Spoken Word. I'm your host, Bishop Talbert Swan II. And as usual, we'll be telling it like it is through cultural idioms and nuances that shape the order, ethos, and chaos of the African-American experience.
Words have their own vitality, shape their own consciousness, and create their own context for interpreting social and spiritual reality. The spoken word contains the power to reshape the landscape of society. It is 4 minutes past the hour of 9 a.m. on March 15th, the Ides of March. I used to tease my sister, who was a year older than I, because her birthday came on March 15th. I used to tease her all the time and tell her that she was born on the Ides of March. And for you all who don't know what that is, basically what that is that's the day that the Senate in Rome conspired to murder Julius Caesar. And supposedly the story goes that as he was on his way to the Senate, there was this soothsayer who kept on saying to him, beware the Ides of March. And the rest is history. He went there and he was assassinated, including by his good friend Brutus, that said that he said, et tu, Brute, you too, Brutus. That's why his name is synonymous with Judas and other traitors. So we used to have good fun teasing her. Today would have been her 57th birthday. She went home to be with the Lord 5 years ago. 6 years ago this December. And certainly we miss her dearly. She was one of the original hosts of this program. When I started on the spoken word, we used to rotate Mondays. And I'd come on one week, she'd come on the next week until she moved away to Delaware. And then I took over the show from then. Now we've been on for 21 years. So happy heavenly birthday to my big sister, Rhonda. We remember you fondly, love you, and miss you every single day. I'm going to play one of her more popular pieces of poetry and spoken word. And this is in her memory. I like what I see.
I look in the mirror and I like what I see. A strong, beautiful black woman staring back at me. One who's seen a lot of pain and had her share of sorrow, but who never gave up hope for a brighter tomorrow. I've been lied to, cheated on, stolen from and hidden, but it just made me stronger and I refuse to quit. That's right. And though I've been tempted, I refuse to stoop to their level. Don't go down. I rose above that nonsense and made a liar of the devil. All right now. The devil who said I wasn't good enough, cute enough, or worthy of love, I kicked his butt with divine power from above. Power that says I can do all things through Christ, which strengthens me and brought me out of darkness so that I could see that I'm smart, I'm beautiful, I'm a child of the King. Abundant love for me, he came to bring. Oh yes, when I look in the mirror, I love what I see. She's looking good. That strong, beautiful black woman, that woman is me.
This one is for all the brothers that passed, but more particularly one because it affected me drastically. I remember my sister gave me the call and I was in awe. Matter of fact, it felt the farthest from reality. She seen somebody post RIP with his name, and I said I doubt it's the same friend I had since the 7th grade. She said I'ma call his sister and double check, and call me back. Said he hanged himself in his room and had been there for days. Initially it didn't hit me, then it clicked, and I remembered that I hadn't seen or heard from the homie all week. Wish she had told me what had him feeling lonely and weak. I guess everybody got demons we don't even speak of, cause I was with him exactly a week before the call. Just under 20, he couldn't even purchase alcohol. My best friend for like 6 or 7 years. I'm not ashamed to say I shedded plenty tears, but it was hard. He was somebody I had plenty memories with. The first person I ever burned any trees with. The worst feeling is knowing that you would leave us and all this grievance without a reason. One of the first people to ever believe in me. When it came down to it, you knew you could call me if you needed me. Cause that information I wouldn't have ever imagined. It's sad thinking about it. I ain't happy that it happened, but it made me. There was plenty times when I thought that it would drive me crazy. But looking back on it now, I see all the drive that it gave me. I learned more about why I am who I am on the daily. I know it may sound crazy, but I'm glad that it made me. Yeah, was born the son of a pastor. He was who I was named after. Matter of fact, I even got some of his characteristics. Both of us got messages for the people. I just do mine with rhythm on beat. He do his on the pulpit with scriptures. Well connected, respected in the community. Ever since I was little, I felt like there was some pressure on me. It started off with little stuff like when my folk brought us to church and then they forced us to get up and say a testimony. Getting older, had to watch how I acted in public, cause people wouldn't hesitate to put that in discussion. Chatting like, isn't that the pastor's kid? I'm like, yeah, that's me, but please don't expect me to be exactly like my daddy. Don't discredit my family for how I am. I'm not a little kid no more, I'm now a man. And I ain't pointing fingers, I'm not trying to do no blaming at all. When it comes to how I came up, I wouldn't change it at all, because it made me. There was plenty times when I thought that it would drive me crazy. But looking back on it now, I see all the drive that it gave me. I learned more about why I am who I am on the daily. I know it may sound crazy, but I'm glad that it made me. Yeah, glad that it made me. Yeah, glad that it made me. Looking back on it now, I see all the drive that it gave me. So I'm glad that it made me. Yeah, baby. Yeah.
.7 WTCC. Good morning, good morning, good morning. Do me a favor, those that are streaming, like, share, subscribe, rep your city, rep your town. Let me know where you are chiming in from. Always love to know where you guys are in the across the globe, wherever you are. Always like to know that. So rep your city, rep your town. Let me know. I see my frat brother Sean, our Ole, I fi till the day I die. Yes, sir. But rep your city, rep your town. Do me a favor, share it, share it, share it. I like to see sharers, share it on timeline, share it with a friend. Let somebody know the bishop is on the air right now. And we're going to be talking about some stuff. Good morning, I'm Marion. Good morning to each and every one of you that are tuned in. Listen, what I want to talk about today is a little bit controversial, but when am I ever not controversial? And it really has to do with, it's a difficult subject because while Black folk continue to seek justice, in those cases of our extrajudicial murder by law enforcement, I think when we see these large settlements, I think they really serve to undermine the seeking of justice, particularly in these high-profile cases, because we often understand that some of the lesser-known cases never get to get large settlements like that because they don't receive as much public scrutiny. They may get some local pressure, but you rarely see the multi-million-dollar settlements. But then at the end of the day, what do these settlements really do to the movement, to our seeking of justice? We've got to understand a monetary settlement, and I'm not against monetary settlements. I want to throw that disclaimer out there. I believe that in cases of wrongful death, that families should be compensated. I also believe that it should be the police officers, their insurance, their pension funds, the budget of the police department, et cetera, that should be paying for it and not taxpayers. You all do understand, excuse me, that in these large settlements that you're paying for it. When these cops murder our people, and these municipalities settle with the families of the victims, that you, the taxpayer, are the ones who are footing the bill. You're paying for it, not them. And settlements do not equal justice. Breonna Taylor's family got $12 million. And I'll talk more about that one than the George Floyd one, because the George Floyd, the case involving former officer Derek Chauvin is just now going to trial. So I can't speak definitively on that case to say the family didn't get justice, because that is yet to be seen. Although it won't be surprising, whatever the outcome may be in that case. And when I say get justice, I don't simply mean an officer being tried, and I don't simply mean an officer going to jail. The punishment must fit the crime. The officer that killed Laquan McDonald went to jail. But he executed Laquan McDonald, shot him 16 times in the back, and he got a 6-year sentence. 6 years. Think about that. Which means he probably out in 3. He might be out right now. I haven't really kept. Somebody look that up for me. Look, see if Jason Van Dyke is still in jail, and put it there in the comment section. Do a quick search for me. See if Jason Van Dyke, the cop who murdered Laquan McDonald in Chicago, who got 6 years, see if he's out of jail. So even though a cop was tried, convicted, and went to jail, that does not mean justice was served when the punishment doesn't fit the crime. If a cop does 3 years in jail for murdering a black man, and you compare that with the fact that, let's say, Michael Vick spent 3 years in prison for fighting dogs. So you're trying to tell me that the life of a black man is equivalent to that of a dog? In the case of Botham Jean, Amber Geiger, the cop who went into his apartment saying she thought it was her apartment and murdered him while he sat on his couch eating ice cream. She got sentenced to 10 years. She'll be out in 3. She was convicted. She was sentenced. That's not justice. All right, thank you. Somebody looked it up for me and they told me he's not in jail anymore. So Jason Van Dyke, the guy who murdered Laquan McDonald, isn't even in jail anymore. Okay? Let's compare that. Okay? First of all, he only got a 6-year sentence. Even if he spent the entire sentence in jail, it would have only been 6 years. But he's not even in jail anymore. Michael Thompson just got his sentence commuted in Michigan. This is going to mess you up. He spent 25 years in prison. His mother died while he was in prison. His father died while he was in prison. His brother died while he was in prison. Guess why he was in prison? Selling weed. Weed that is now legal in Michigan. And some of the law enforcement officials who put him in prison are now in the cannabis industry making money. Think about that right there. The very people who put people in prison for selling cannabis are now making money from cannabis. He just got out of prison after 25 years. Jason Van Dyke murdered a black teenager. He didn't spend 25 years in prison. He's out. So when I say justice being served, I don't mean simply a trial or a conviction. I mean when the punishment fits the crime. There's no way black cops could kill white people and spend 3 years in prison. And here's the thing, those who do spend that short amount of time in prison are the exception. Because most of them don't even get tried. They don't even get charged. They never go to jail. They never, ever, okay, pay the piper. That's the rule. These who go to jail are the exception. And then they spend very little time in jail. So justice is not even being served when they go to prison, unfortunately. Now, think about it. Think about what these settlements do in these cases. And notice how strategic they are with these settlements. And what do I mean, how strategic they are? You notice that the announcement of the settlement in the George Floyd case was being made right as they were selecting the jury for Derek Chauvin's trial. Do you think that's coincident? Do you think it's coincident that they announced that we're going to pay this family $27 million as they're selecting a jury? No, it's not a coincidence, because what it is they want these jurors to know that we just paid these black folks $27 million out of your hard-earned taxpayer money. So you don't have to send this cop to jail. As if the money should be a trade-off. They're basically saying, look, we just made these N-words multimillionaires. They don't need no justice. They don't need no justice. You don't have to send this white man to prison. These Negroes are rich now. They're there's a message that is being sent in the timing of the announcement of this settlement. And it's not coincidental. And here's what happens, ladies and gentlemen. Here's what happens. We get a high-profile, high-publicized case of police brutality or police murder. um, that automatically stokes the anger of our community. And we can feel free to use the term anger. See, white folks have tried to make you feel bad about being angry by coming up with that stereotypical angry black man, angry black woman trope. Embrace it, because we have a right to be angry. Okay? You know, if their children and their loved ones were being murdered in the streets like dogs and no one was being held accountable for it, they'd be angry too. All right. When they get killed, they say, never forget. When we get killed, they say, forget about it. So embrace your anger. What happens is our anger is stoked. These high profile lawyers, they come out in the public and they speak about the injustice done to their clients, and they continue to rile up the public. Because you got to understand that riling up the public, the marches, the protests, the civil unrest, all of that helps them when they are negotiating behind the scenes, when they're negotiating for a settlement. You have to understand, just like what was just announced in the George Floyd case, they were negotiating a monetary settlement before any guilty party gets tried. Notice Derek Chauvin is just now going on trial. They've already announced the settlement. So they immediately went behind the scenes to begin negotiating. And all of the public pressure, all of the public protests, all of the civil unrest helps them in their negotiation. So they have a vested interest in the public being upset, being angry. They have a vested interest in civil unrest taking place. I hate to say this. I see my cousin on Instagram. What's up, Brendan? Good morning, Mother Maddox. I see you. They have a vested interest in us being upset and us being out on the streets. And I get it, because you have to represent the family, but you have to understand how you're being used as well. I can't think of a nicer way to put it, because that's the reality. That's the reality. So they're negotiating behind the scenes, and they're playing on the anger, the angst, the frustration of the community. That's helping. You're helping them to get a big settlement. And you have to understand that in most of these settlements, these lawyers are getting 30 to 40%. So, if you want to use a nice round number, if you get a $10 million settlement, the lawyer's walking away with $4 million. $4 million. If you get a $20 million settlement, the lawyer's walking away with $6 million. In the case of the George Floyd case, the lawyers are walking away with about $8.5 million. It pays for us to be angry. It pays for us to be out there protesting. It pays for that for that to happen for them. It works in their favor. And then what happens, and I'm just keeping it all the way 100, just keeping it all the way real. What happens is, after we get riled up, we start protesting, we're angry. Sometimes property is destroyed. Sometimes, and I have no problem because, Dr. King even said, the riot is the voice of the unheard. When you have that level of stress and anxiety on you because of injustice, you sometimes lash out, and they're banking on you lashing out. Don't get it twisted. They're banking on you breaking in Target and burning down the gas station, because that helps them get that settlement, get that number as high as it can go. Then you notice, you always know when they're close to completing their negotiations, because that's when they trot out the family to tell you all to calm down. You know, whoever the victim was, you know, Bob wouldn't want you all to be out here doing this. Trot the family out. Then they started asking us all kinds of stupid questions about whether or not we forgive. Then the lawyers stand with the family as the families declare how they forgave the white supremacist cops who murdered their loved ones. They're close to getting a settlement in now. Because now now that we stoked them up, but now that there's money on the table, part of those settlements is also, okay, now go out there and calm those Negroes down. You about to get this money, so go calm them down. You know, I mean, just think about it. Just think about it for a minute. Somebody murders your mama, your daddy, your sister, your brother, your child. Yeah, you really gonna just come out there talking about, all right, y'all just don't break anything. Wait a minute. You just murdered my son. I don't care what y'all break. Burn the city down. I'm just being real. I'm just keeping it a buck. I'm not gonna be the one coming out there talking about y'all calm down and stop breaking windows. You murdered my child, and you think I care if they break the window on a police car? I'm not the one who's gonna be coming out telling y'all to stop breaking windows. And I'm not the one who's going to come out, even before an arrest has been made, pronouncing forgiveness on people who murdered my loved ones while I'm grieving. And these lawyers have got to stop trotting these families out to do this kind of foolery. Then what happens? Remember now, again, these settlements don't come from the police unions. Don't come from the police budgets. Comes from the taxpayer. And 99% of the cases when they settle them have gag orders, which means the family members and the lawyers can no longer come out in the public and discuss the case. They got to shut up. Can't talk about it no more. And so while they're walking away filthy rich, lawyers are getting more money, the community is left stressed and angry. Because yet another case where no justice has been served. Yesterday, or the 13th, Saturday, was the 1-year anniversary of the murder of Breonna Taylor. The community was out again protesting. Some more folks got arrested, but the family has their $12 million. The lawyers has their millions of dollars, and they're not saying anything. But the community is left angry, stressed, and frustrated. So you have to ask yourself the question. $27 million, $12 million, whatever $1 million it is. Yes, it's a lot of money. Yes, they become instant millionaires. But at what cost? At what cost? Breonna Taylor's life was taken in a hail of bullets at the hands of men that were sworn to protect and serve her as a citizen. right? Her boyfriend was suspected of some wrongdoing around drugs. He wasn't even the right person. This case ended tragically. She was only 26 years old. And once again, let me just be clear, so y'all don't run around saying Bishop Swan said the families shouldn't get paid. That's not what I'm saying at all. Okay, I want to be clear. I have no issue with a family bringing a wrongful death lawsuit in the case of a murdered loved one. That's their sacred duty. They ought to do that. Your family is supposed to love you, support you. In horrific cases like this, they're supposed to avenge you. They're supposed to seek justice. They're supposed to seek a monetary compensation. By every means that are necessary under law, they should be trying to avenge you. Breonna's family, George Floyd's family, they had a right to do what they did. So don't think I'm saying that they should not be seeking compensation. However, what I'm saying is you have to look at the downside to these settlements. You have to look at what the long-lasting effect is. See, my issue with the settlements are very specific. These settlements in these high-profile cases, they often lead to important evidence, important testimony, important facts getting lost. Let me not even say getting lost. Basically, they get buried because people who were once free to speak can no longer speak because these settlements, once again, they come with gag orders. The settlement means you give up your legal right to continue to seek justice in exchange for a payment. And here's the thing, they make it clear in the settlement that it's not an admission of guilt on the part of the city or the police department. It's not an admission of guilt. It always comes with a non-disclosure clause. It always comes with a liquidated damages clause, which means that if the parties violate the terms of the settlement, they got to pay back either a portion or all of the settlement that they received. So they're not trying to pay back any of those millions of dollars. And so they take the money and they be quiet. I mean, the settlements are at the core of what is wrong in America relative to racism and racially discriminatory conduct. I mean that's the reality. That's the reality. It's a way to keep you quiet at the expense of the taxpayers. It's a way to bury a case in the memory of people and keep it moving without any justice ever being served. That's what they do to us. And if you all don't believe it, just check the cycle. Check the cycle. Check the cycle and see how many times they settled a case, paid out some money, and there was no justice for the family in the case. That no one was held accountable. No one was held responsible. So basically, the taxpayers keep paying for the mistakes of rogue police officers. The taxpayers keep on over and over and over again. They keep on footing the bill for bad cops. And then when we try to deal with qualified immunity, when we try to deal with holding police officers more accountable, the lobbies get involved, the politicians get scared, and that's Democrat and Republican. Right here in liberal Massachusetts, okay, right here in good old liberal Massachusetts, they killed qualified immunity in the police reform bill. In a predominantly Democratic state, where Democrats control the entire legislature, okay, they are the overwhelming majority. And they pulled qualified immunity out because the police lobbies were lobbying politicians because they did not want to be held accountable. And what did the politicians do? What did the Democrat politicians do? They pulled the qualified immunity out of the bill. So on both sides of the aisle, this ain't just a Republican thing. You know, these police unions, they punk Democrats and Republicans so that they don't have to be held accountable. And once again, the taxpayer is left holding the bag when cops behave badly, when cops brutalize, dehumanize, and murder innocent citizens. The taxpayer pays the bill, and in most cases, those cops get to go home to their family, eat dinner, put their uniform on, and go back on the job. So let's not, and I know some of you all were excited. You know, you heard that 27 million. You said George Floyd's family got $27 million, yada, yada, yada. See, it's not justice when they can murder us and then just say, here, take this money. You know, we can murder you all with reckless abandon, and we'll just make the taxpayers pay your family to shut up and go away. By contrast, white folks get killed, they get paid, and people go to jail. Now that's the reality. They get paid and people go to jail. Okay? Good morning, caller. Good morning, caller.
How you doing?
I'm good. You?
I woke up.
Well, that's a good thing.
Yeah, I was just listening to you, and the jury, you know, in terms of them making their minds about selecting the jury,
Mm-hmm.
how does that work? Because it seems like, you know, I guess they want to balance. Is that how it goes in terms of the race?
Well, basically, you know, in most jury selection, both the prosecutor and defense attorneys get an opportunity to question the jurors. They have an opportunity to request that the person not be seated on the jury, and so they go back and forth until they have finally seated enough people on the jury to go ahead and hold the trial.
So don't they ask, you know, have you been watching the case? Have you been following the case?
I have.
They put that.
I have not been watching the George Floyd case. I mean the case of Officer Chauvin.
Okay.
But the jury selection is pretty standard.
Now, you know, I know they get the cops. You know, the police union is pretty strong in terms of arresting officers, but the juror got to remain objective, and if they can say, did he use reasonable
Yeah.
In terms of killing them. It's not like it was a split second.
Well, let me. I agree with you, but let me throw this out there just for thought. 16 bullets in the back of Laquan McDonald was excessive. 8 bullets in the back of Walter Scott as he ran away was excessive. 48 bullets in the body of Amadou Diallo
I remember that. Wow.
was excessive. Choking Eric Garner while he said, "I can't breathe" 12 times was excessive. So although the major difference with the George Floyd case is we were in the middle of a pandemic, everybody was at home, everybody saw that in a loop, and it angered the nation and the world. But it's not the first time a cop used excessive force and was caught on video using excessive force. And in many of those other cases I just named for you, no one was ever held accountable for it. So although Derek Chauvin has been arrested and is going to trial, I'm not holding out hope that real justice is going to be served. Like I said earlier, in Laquan McDonald's murder, a cop did go to jail, but he's out of jail right now. He got sentenced to 6 years. He might have spent 3, maybe, in jail. Amber Geiger, remember, with Botham Jean, got sentenced to 10 years. I mean, black people get sentenced to longer sentences for killing dogs. Literally, there was a black man who killed a police dog, got 34 years in prison. Now, you mean to tell me he got more years in prison for killing a dog than Amber Geiger and Jason Van Dyke combined for killing Botham Jean and Laquan McDonald? And that's where we are.
I just think our politicians got to address some of our issues that affect us, like incarceration, miseducation, identification, and access to wealth.
Yeah.
I don't hear anybody talk about those 4 topics. And it's a continuation because when you think about it, it's almost like the protest is the end game and it's over.
Yeah.
It's like it's been that way since the 50s and 60s up until now.
Yeah.
But anyway, just want to share my thoughts with you this morning.
All right. Thank you for your call.
Yep.
413-337-1867. Love to take your calls. About 13 minutes left in the program on WTCC. So if you want to chime in on the conversation, love to hear what you have to say about it. And I know someone said, well, you know what, Bishop, if they can't get justice, they ought to get paid. And I get it. And once again, like I said, I am not against seeking a monetary settlement. I'm against the process. I'm against the gag orders. I'm against stoking the anger and frustration and the angst of the community and then leaving them high and dry after the settlement and the families and the lawyers walk away. It has already been proven over and over again that the stress and the strain that comes from dealing with racism in this nation has detrimental effects on the health and well-being of Black people. And every time we have to deal with these high-profile cases, and we're out there protesting and marching and wearing our T-shirts and having our say and our discussions and everything on that, and then we hear there was a X number of $1 million settlements and all of the parties walk away because they're under a gag order, and we're just sitting there like, okay, what happens now? That's stressful. And that's a disservice to our community. Um, you know, and we just can't seem to get any type of justice. Um, according to the EEOC, corporations spend hundreds of millions of dollars every year settling discrimination lawsuits. And after the dust settles, corporate America is no more diverse. Their policies don't change. Their practices don't change. They just set that money aside because they say, you know, we know systemic racism is a problem. Things are going to happen. So we're going to set this money aside because we're going to have to settle some lawsuits with these black folk that we're going to discriminate against. And nothing changes. I mean, you know, corporate America, the upper echelon is still overwhelmingly white and male. White women have made some modest gains in the boardrooms, and they continue to discriminate against us. And then they just say, you know, we'll just pay them and pay them to go away. Pay them to go away. I mean, you know, I once upon a time, I had to do the same thing. I went to the Massachusetts Commission Against Discrimination years ago because of discrimination from an employer. And I went through that process of, okay, you know, we'll give you X amount of dollars if you sign this non-disclosure form, which means you can't seek any further redress and you can't speak about this case. Basically, you can't badmouth us, you can't do anything like that, or you'll forfeit the little bit of money that we're going to give you. That's how the game is played. That's how the game is played. And they're playing us, y'all. They're playing us. They have these money set aside, these rainy day funds, these contingency funds, because it basically they're saying, we know that somebody is going to do something discriminatory against black people. Some cop is going to murder some black person or something. So we need to have these money set aside so we can pay a settlement and keep it moving. And then at the end of the day, nothing changes. Nothing changes. The same stand your ground law that was used as a defense for George Zimmerman in the case of the murder of Trayvon Martin is still on the books in Florida. Here we are 9 years after Trayvon was murdered, and a white man can still use stand your ground as an excuse to kill a black man in Florida. Still on the books. In the past 5 years, although you've had extremely high-profile cases with Rayshard Brooks, with George Floyd, with with so many others, not one of those police departments have been investigated by the Department of Justice. Not one. Not one. No consent decrees, no legal remedies for systemic practices that discriminate against black people, nothing. And your anger, your frustration, your righteous indignation is used to put pressure on the powers that be to up the numbers in a settlement. And then they put a gag order on them and they can't talk about it anymore. And you're left back out on the streets frustrated. 413-337-1867.
Good morning.
What's happening?
Nothing much. It feels kind of sad what we're talking about this morning, though.
What's that now?
Well, I feel kind of sad what your topic is this morning.
Yeah, but it's a reality that we've got to face. I mean, it's it's what it is. I mean, and how many times have we seen it? We've seen it even here in the city of Springfield. The Schofield case, they paid their family $700,000. Doug Greer case, they paid out some money. Taheem Goff case, they paid out some money. Over and over again, the Springfield Police Department pays out settlements, puts forth gag orders, and they keep it moving. And then the practices of that police department never changes.
Yeah.
Never changes. And that's my, let me take this call, but that's my frustration. It never changes. Good morning, caller. Caller, you're on the air. Going once, caller.
Good morning, Miss Fowler.
Going twice, caller.
Good morning.
Good morning. You're on the air.
Okay, good morning.
Yes.
I'd like to thank you for bringing that topic out, because I often wondered, after they got the settlement, how come you never heard any more from the parents, or why you didn't talk about it anymore. So thanks for bringing that to light, because I had no idea that's what was happening. Thank you.
All right. Yeah. Non-disclosure agreements, gag orders, and then penalties that if you do violate those parameters of this settlement, then you're subject to have to pay back the money. So people have to then take the money and be quiet, and not say anything. That's common practice in settlements. I mean, even in small time settlements.
And especially, I mean, well, I don't know a whole lot about the law. I don't know a whole lot about politics, but the injustice oftentimes seems like it's in the details. So in other words, I'm sure you're not demeaning the families for taking settlements or anything like that, especially in civil suits. We get it. It's just that it's the source. Still, police are not being held accountable. The system is not being held accountable because their pockets are really not being impacted and affected.
Right.
Their lifestyles are not being, impacted or affected. One of the things that I remember, even when Mr. Floyd was murdered, in public, in the world, the world saw it. One of the things I found out really quick or early on, thank goodness to, the information highway, thank goodness to, like in time, reporting. This is the reason why, we found this out so soon, was that what he did was he transferred all of his retirement, all of his 401k to his wife. And then I believe, if I'm not mistaken, I think, because this was a while ago, I think we read somewhere where she was divorcing him so that she could keep all the monies and resources, regardless of if he ended up with any jail time or anything like that. But here we are a half a year later, 6 months later, or whatever, and that hasn't even been determined yet.
Right. Absolutely.
So,
let me
have these little games, have these little tricks. But anyway, if the system is not being held responsible, if they don't have to pay anything, then it's just going to continue. We're not going to get any justice, and that does
these settlements are built into the budgets and contingencies because they know they're going to happen, and that's what's problematic to me.
Right.
We know we're going to have to pay out discriminatory suits, but it's not like, what do we do? So we have to pay out less money. What do we have to do to mitigate this issue so we're not paying out these suits? Let me transition off of
Okay. I just wanted to say good morning to those who are saying good morning to me. Okay, Bishop. I'm sorry.
Listen, on Wednesday, tune in to Deliverance Center Ministries. We continue with the Pastor's Council Lenten service. Listen, The Lift Every Voice lecture series is going to be lit, y'all. Look at the Spring of Hope Facebook page later this afternoon. All the details. It will be spread out over the next 3 months, March, April, and May. We've got Dr. Keisha Blaine, Dr. Freddie Haynes, Dr. W. Franklin Richardson. We've got some spoken word talent, some musical talent. It's going to be wonderful. Listen, if you're looking for a place to worship, check us out at the Spring of Hope Church of God in Christ. 11 o'clock a.m. on Sunday. I got to move out your way.
Good morning,
my WPCC audience. Until the next time I talk to you and you talk to me, always remember
transition with us.
And so
transition
do I.
with us. Good morning, everybody.
All right. Back with you. And listen, once again, today is the, I'm going to see if I can find something to play. Today is the heavenly birthday of my late sister, Rhonda Swan, who used to be co-host of the Spoken Word radio broadcast. And so I played something at the beginning of the program honoring her. And so let me just play this piece here. This one is called Can We Talk? We'll be right back with First Lady on the other side. Check it out.
Why is it that I can't get you to talk to me so I could see what it is to be you? Who are you? What makes you tick? Could you be someone whom I would pick to be with? To be with you. What does that mean? Would you treat me like a queen, or would it be a rerun of that scene in which I play the leading role of a woman trying to reach that goal of true love, but the man has no soul? Are you that kind of man? I don't think so. But you must open up so I can know if you are the one with whom I can grow, the one I can believe in, the one I can trust, the one who can clear away this dust that surrounds my heart from years of just wait, I'll change. Just wait and see. One day you'll be able to depend on me. Just don't give up. I need more time, boy. I'd be rich if for every just I had a dime. But where are you going? What's your plan? What's in store for you, black man? Am I in your future, a part of your life? Can you see me as your wife? I can't read mine, so what's on yours? Give me the key to unlock the doors. I need to know what's in there. What do you think? Do you care? Why is it so hard for you to communicate, to express yourself to your mate? One day you might find that it's too late. You'll wake up and I'll be gone, because it got too hard to hold on to fantasies about what might be down the road for you and me. So please listen. Here's what I need, just to know where this might lead. Can't you see? You should open up to me. I tried so hard not to play this card, but I refuse to live in the dark. Is this for real, or is it a lark? I'll say it one more time before I walk. I need answers, baby. Can we talk?
Can we talk? Can we talk? That was Rhonda Swann, spoken word piece. Good morning, caller. You're on the air. How you?
How are you?
I'm good. How you?
I'm doing well, and I thank you very much, Brother Swann, for what you're doing. And you are absolutely correct. And you got a lot of support out here. We just need to be motivated by people like you. Systemic racism is not a problem for them. You're absolutely correct. They can afford it, and they do already have these contingency funds set aside for that purpose. They don't mind doing it. They're going to still we're going to still have to grin and bear it until people like you motivate people like us out here in the listening audience that there's somebody out there who agree with us, although we're grinning and bearing it. It's not going to last always. God is the ultimate justifier, and things will take, that God will make all things to take all, and us to do all the corrective things, to take all the corrective measures to eliminate this. God will fight our fight. As long as you keep motivating us to keep on keeping on, we will keep on keeping on. So you keep doing what you're doing, brother. I support you and will always support you. Thank you so much.
All right. Thank you, man. Appreciate your call. 413-337-1867. Spoken word overdrive. Extended edition. If you want to call in, the phone lines are still open. But yeah, that's where we are, ladies and gentlemen. In terms of police accountability, they don't want to be held accountable. And cities and towns prepare for that. They prepare for it. You know, it's a shame that a town as small as ours, where we're broadcasting from, has paid out so many millions of dollars, and our police department is in negotiations with the Department of Justice right now because of a scathing report that revealed the type of brutality that takes place. So that's what's frustrating about this. You would think that these cities and towns, the leadership would say, you know, we're tired of paying taxpayer money out for this reason. We're either going to get rid of these bad cops, we're going to change policies and reform this police department. We're going to do something so that we're not paying out all of this money. But they don't. They don't. Hold on. I can't hear you. I can't hear you. Hello?
Yeah, can you hear me now?
I can hear you now.
Okay. So a couple of things. First of all, I think you might want to look at the comments from Clifford Payne. He made a statement about Indiana, a law that was just passed concerning turning off their cameras, police cameras.
Okay.
And so I guess if a police officer, while committing a crime, okay, turns off his police camera, he could be charged with a misdemeanor. And so that's kind of strange.
It should be charged with a felony.
Right. You should be charged with a felony. So, you know, I want to bring that point up. But I can't help but to think, you know, concerning the topic today, I can't help again but to think of the origin of policing, and certainly of the creation of policies during slavery and soon after supposedly the emancipation of slaves, of enslaved people, Black people here in this country. And I'm thinking about when we supposedly was in certain parts of the country up north, and how we were supposed to be safe and we were supposed to be free, you know, or whatever the case may be. And a lot of us, you know, risked our lives, and a lot of us was killed, you know, taking that risk and taking that journey to seek them, you know, by getting to certain parts of the world getting in certain parts of the country, to attain our freedom. But I'm also thinking about how, say for instance, a slave owner paid $1,500 for me, paid $1,500 for me as a slave, brought me onto the plantation, or maybe paid for me or bought me from another slave owner or off another plantation or whatever the case may be, and how they would go and pay the same price that they paid for me to a slave catcher. And oftentimes those slave catchers, and I'm going to say police, oftentimes, those
Slave
catchers,
patrols, those were the original
right,
police.
exactly. But oftentimes those slave patrol or slave officers or whatever you want to call them, today is modern day police officers. Um, Oftentimes they could not retrieve me or catch me, but they would go and bring back somebody else because it was about the money. In other words, I paid $1,500 for her, but she gonna make me $1 million. You understand what I'm saying? So off of the backs of it's like I don't know the financial terms, but it's return on investment, or whatever the case may be. So it's chump change. I know it sounds like a lot of money, or whatever. But again, when it's coming from the sources, the sources of the money that's being shelled out, again, it's like okay, the police department has caused an injury to me. In other words, they unjustly killed, murdered, or whatever, my loved one. But part of my money that I pay as a resident back into this state, part of the revenue, my taxes, or whatever, 25% of my taxes that's going back to the country, going back to the nation, and going back to the state or whatever. Part of that is in my settlement. In other words, I'm paying, I've already invested,
You're
whatever
paying
in my own settlement. And that,
you're paying for police to abuse you.
right, or
Basically.
whatever. So, we gotta really like seriously, and I hear this often, when we're trying to create policies or when we're trying to expose unjust policies, follow the money. I hear that all the time. And so, like, again, especially as Black and brown people, but more particularly as Black people, descendants of slaves, we have to follow the money. We have to follow the source of the money. So, like I said, if they're not being directly impacted, or whatever, if they're not being directly impacted, or if they can't find a loophole in the way that the system, I know, hands down, justice, or hands out justice, or whatever the case may be, then it's not going to change anything. So it's like, don't get happy about, thank God, that the family has gotten something, but I'm sure they would prefer their loved one. $27 million may sound like a lot of money to us, but if they had killed my son, or whatever, no amount of money is gonna address that pain and make me feel better about any kind of justice being received, on his murder.
Well, basically, what they're doing is they're doing it in lieu of justice. That's basically the gist of it is we are going to um, pay you this money because we're not going to give you justice.
Well, and I'm just saying that we got to find some kind of way not to accept that as an answer or an end all be all. And like I said, well, no, like you said, it leaves the community frustrated because I was one of those people. Matter of fact, I think I was the one who brought this conversation up to you yesterday. So I was one of those people that was receiving messages of some people being, really happy about George Floyd, family receiving the $27 million. And I was like, y'all, that's doing nothing, as far as like the justice that needs to be handed down, in that case and so many others. And I'm talking about future cases, because if the answer is just money, then policy is never going to change. The system is never going to change. So we're left helpless and hopeless.
Well, and that's the problem. Why is the system not going to change? Why not? Are we stumped right there? I mean, are we just stuck with a system that's just never going to change, and we're just going to be on this never-ending cycle where our anger is stoked? They settle, give somebody some money, tell them to shut up and go away, and we wait for the next murder to do the same thing over and over again?
Well, that seems to be what's been happening for years. I mean, it just didn't start happening with George Floyd. It's been happening for a long time. Ever since I've been here on the planet. I'll be 54 on Friday, so I've never known it not to happen. But like I said, sometimes the injustice is in the details. So I can't honestly say that I always knew that this was how it worked, or whatever. Because I remember, feeling some type of relief and happiness when I heard of families before, receiving a settlement, civilly. But then when you dig into it and you understand the difference between a civil suit and a criminal suit, then you realize, but there was no justice. And that's what the community is calling for. The community is always calling for justice. We're always calling for justice.
And not getting it over and over and
right.
over and over. And like I said earlier, even in the cases, even in cases where police officers have been tried and have gone to jail, it still wasn't justice. When you think about Jason Van Dyke getting sentenced to 6 years for murdering Laquan McDonald, that's not justice. Amber Geiger getting a measly 10 years for murdering Botham Jean, that's not justice. Jason Van Dyke is out of jail right now. I venture to say probably in the next year and a half or so, Amber Geiger will be walking the streets again. That's not justice. So even on the rare occurrence that they actually charge a police officer and sentence them, Black people get more time in jail for killing dogs than white cops get for murdering Black people.
Yeah, so I mean, like I said, what's the answer? I certainly don't know. I'm not a lawyer, so I don't get how the intricacies of the system from a legal perspective. All I know is that at the end of the day, all of these systems are racist. And so, so I don't know. Civil rights lawyers, they might have their hands tied. Maybe that's the best they can do. Maybe that's what they can do.
Someone asked me in a forum. It was actually in a church forum. And they asked me basically, are we too forgiving? Are we too nice and too passive, etc.? And I know see, we are the only people on the planet where the expectation is, if we rape you, kill you, murder you, kill your children, your spouses, your loved ones, you're expected to forgive, not react, and keep it moving. We're the only people on the planet where that is the expectation. Nobody expects for white folk to be killed with reckless abandon and to respond with forgiveness and passivity. Nobody expects that. You know, white folks say, look, we're going to do preemptive strikes. Just in case you might be thinking about messing with us, we're going to bomb you. You know, black folk are the only people where this unrealistic expectation is that we're just supposed to, you know, be okay with our dehumanization and keep it moving. That's part of what they did with the whitenized Christianity that they tried to force on our ancestors. That's the whole push about forgiveness, is they bastardize scripture to make forgiveness really be a way of white folks being able to abdicate responsibility for the things that they do, by telling you that in order for you to get to heaven, you're supposed to forgive us for lynching you, you know, et cetera, et cetera. And we're the only people who are expected to do that. The world understands when white folks retaliate. But if black folk break into a Target, it's like a major to-do. You know, wait a minute. You just murdered somebody and you tripping about somebody breaking into Target or a gas station or something like that? It's a complete racist double standard and expectation that they never would have of themselves.
Yeah, I agree, but I also, you know, just sort of kind of different perspectives. I think sometimes, you know, we certainly can flush that out a little bit more. And what I mean by that is, I think it depends on what your definition of forgiveness is. Like, oftentimes, you know, as a therapist and a counselor, I certainly encourage my clients to forgive.
But pause right there, babe. But as a therapist, you understand that there's a process by which you get to forgiveness.
Yes, babe. You know, and so like I said, let me get back to it. I oftentimes encourage my clients to go through the process of forgiveness, but with certain caveats. You know, I have to redefine forgiveness for them, because I want them to understand that they are the benefactor of forgiveness, not their perpetrators, or not the person that victimized them. So you're not going through the process of forgiveness for them. You're going through the process, the hard process of forgiveness for yourself, so that you won't be stunted, so that you can continue to grow and progress and advance, and not sit in bitterness and resentment and anger and all of those, you know, negative emotions that can really kill someone's spirit or mental health. You know, so forgiveness is a tool, you know, to relieve some of the mental strain and stress, and certainly emotional strain and stress caused from trauma or being victimized. So
I don't think that's a different perspective.
I know, but what I'm saying is, oftentimes people don't flush out the real meaning of forgiveness and why forgiveness would be necessary spiritually. It is a spiritual tool, you know, of whatever. It is a spiritual tool. But I totally understand and get your point. And so but like I said though, we just need to put it in its proper place. We need to put it in.
Here's the first of all, I agree with what you said. So that we don't really have a fundamental chasm in terms of what we believe around forgiveness. Here's my issue. My issue is understanding that forgiveness is a process. First of all, people say, "Well, Jesus forgave." So I'm not Jesus. I'm
Right.
Talbert.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm not part human, part divine.
Well, they want you to
I'm
be
100%.
Jesus when they don't want to be held accountable.
Right. I'm 100% human, and you want me to be Jesus, but you don't want to be Jesus in the way that you treat me. But here's the other thing: understanding that there is a process by which people get to forgiveness. The whole grieving process, you go through anger, you go through denial, you go through all of this long before you get to the point of forgiveness. So my problem is this: they murder your mama on Monday, and on Wednesday they got a camera stuck in your face asking if you forgive the person who murdered your mama 48 hours ago. They don't do that. They don't do that for white folks.
Okay,
they don't do that for white folks. They don't ask. Yeah. They do not ask white people if they forgive the people who murdered their loved ones 2 days ago, as if they went through the whole grieving process. Right. See, they deny black people's humanity. They don't want us to be human and go through the grieving process, right, and go and get to a point of forgiveness. We're supposed to be superhuman to the point where we can just forgive you on Wednesday after you murdered our son on Tuesday. That's unrealistic. It's racist. It's wrong.
Yeah, it kind of brings me, I'm shifting just a little bit, but something had happened this past week. I don't watch the show anymore, but I do love Cheryl Underwood. And Cheryl Underwood is a host on the show The Talk. And so apparently Piers Morgan was really upset with Meghan Markle about the remarks she was making about the Queen and, and being black in the royal family and how she's being mistreated. So the interview, with Oprah upset him, and he ended up walking off of his show. He called her a liar and all of this, kind of stuff. And so another host on the show, The Talk, Sharon Osbourne. Yeah, I didn't know her name. But anyway, Sharon Osbourne and Cheryl Underwood are good friends, of course. They're on the show together. But Sharon Osbourne is also very close to Piers Morgan. And so she was defending him, and she went off on Cheryl Underwood. And Cheryl don't start to cry. I mean, she went out. She was angry. She was mad because she was standing up for her friend because everybody was calling Piers Morgan racist, right? And, talking about.
And he is. And he's got a long history of racism.
Well, and calling him racist. But so Sharon Osbourne was standing up for him. And Cheryl, I mean, I was so upset for her because I knew that the only reason why Cheryl was holding it together and not,
they would have fired her,
and not responding like she really wanted to Sharon, even though her and Sharon she considered Sharon to be a good friend of hers, but to see her like that, and I knew that Cheryl Underwood was holding it together, holding all of her humanity, under her breath, because she didn't want the backlash, which is understandable. She didn't want the backlash of being viewed as an angry black woman, like we don't have the right to be angry, like we don't have the right to be angry, and quiet, as this woman really verbally attacked her. And Cheryl was calling her a good friend. And I'm like, oh my God, it was awful. It was awful.
Sharon Osbourne
that is what
displayed the behavior of the typical privileged white woman.
Exactly.
Who felt like she could talk to Cheryl any kind of way she wanted to.
Right.
It was the classic I'm white and I say so mentality.
Right.
And as if Cheryl couldn't call Pierce racist.
Racist. Right.
Because that
as if she didn't have a right to her perspective on Pierce.
And the reason it triggered Sharon's white fragility is because she agreed with Pierce. And so what she was really feeling was, well, if you calling Pierce racist, then you must think I'm racist too. Right. Yeah, you are. You are.
And I still feel horrible for Cheryl because Cheryl has been, extremely active, and she's been an activist for, the rights of women and the whole nine. But it's like, I dare you, as my black friend, call my friend Piers Morgan a racist. I dare you.
Piers is a long-time racist.
Right. It was, I'm telling you, it was classic, and it really showed, it really exposed. I don't know how many people cared about it. I haven't heard anybody talking about it. I'm bringing it up today, on your show, but it was classic. I mean, it was classic. It wasn't a microaggression. It wasn't a macro aggression. It was okay. You see,
it was straight up racism.
It was straight up racism. It was straight up racism. And Cheryl considered this woman to be one of her close friends. And she snapped. She lost it. And so it's like, they're your true colors. White supremacy. They're your true colors.
So they were having this whole conversation around the British Crown, the royal family, and whether or not they were racist. And Oprah, Oprah gets on my nerves all of the time, because in her elitism now, she acts like she's oblivious of history. So when Meghan was saying, they were talking about maybe the baby might be too black, too dark, or whatever, and she was acting like she was so shocked. And then when someone interviewed Oprah after, she said, yes, she was shocked to find out that somebody said that. Now, here's the thing. Let's just keep it a buck. I don't understand why people are acting like it ain't what it is. We're talking about British royalty. So we're talking about the monarchy, the family, descendants of a family that brutalized and murdered black people across the globe. Literally, they colonized, and you can't even call off all of them. They colonized the Bahamas, Belize, Barbados, Jamaica, Kenya, the Sudan, Botswana, Egypt, Somalia, Cameroon, Zambia, Zimbabwe, Tanzania. I mean, the list got most of the places throughout the Caribbean, Jamaica, Trinidad and Tobago. Do you think these black people in all of these nations volunteered to be subjects of the British? No. They were brutalized. They were murdered. They were colonized. They raped Africa of its natural resources. And then Prince William is talking about, we're very much not a racist family. Okay, if you're very much not a racist family, is the Queen going to give back the $2 billion calling them diamonds that are in her scepter and in her crown that they stole from Africa? Are they going to give back all of the crown jewels that they stole and raped from Africa? So is the royal family racist? What does history tell you? I mean, it's mind-boggling that anybody would ask this question. I mean, Prince William is in a picture being carried by black folks on a royal chair. Is he racist? I mean, are you serious?
One of the things that Sharon Osbourne said, like I said, I got to be honest. I got to be transparent. I didn't do a full investigation, but I did. I watched a brief interview and I read a small article about it. But anyway, one of the things she said when she was confronting Cheryl and when she was literally berating Cheryl, she said, how could I be racist? How could I be racist? How could I be racist, Cheryl? How could I be racist? And it's like,
I got you as a friend.
right now.
I got a black friend. That's what she was basically saying.
And then she said to Cheryl, you tell me how he's been racist then. You know, again, defending him, you know, or whatever. And Cheryl just had to sit there in it, at least in that moment. I think she was shocked. I got to admit, I think I would have been shocked too. But in that moment, sure, you know, I'm sure it was a whole lot of different things going through her mind, and I'm sure she's had to process it over the last few days. But nevertheless, if Cheryl, I know this as another black woman, I was offended. I was very angry watching that dialogue. I wanted to say something, and I know Cheryl wanted to say something, but she had to maintain it because she would be the hot topic today. And you see how ain't nobody talking about Sharon Osbourne.
She would have been fired.
Nobody's talking about her.
All of that. All right, so here's what I want to do before we get off the air. Here's what I want to do before we get off the air. I want to do a battle of the hats. Hold on a second. Y'all watch this. Stop coughing on the air and talk.
I can't help it. I don't know. It's like a little cat ball or something is in my throat. Good morning, everybody. But why is it always on black people to prove how a white person or a white people are racist? Thank you, Kathy. Thank you. Very good question. Extremely good question. It's not on us, and you know, and I'm not going to be expected to explain, you know, how white people are racist. There is a such thing as microaggression and macroaggression, but there's also a such thing as just overt racism, and there's a such thing as covert racism. You know, so I'm, you know, I'm not doing it. I'm not doing it. I'm not doing it. I'm not doing it. I'm not going to be your educator, and your victim too. I'm just gonna call you on it. You know, I'm just gonna hold you accountable when I'm aware. When I'm aware. And Sharon Osbourne was completely out of line, and I hope she's come to her senses and apologized to Cheryl, or at least I hope that Cheryl has, you know, decided to distance herself, because there's no way in the world, if Sharon continues on like that, feeling like that, there's no way in the world she can trust that friendship. No way.
Okay, y'all, who's flyer?
Me.
Who's more fly?
Me.
Come on now.
Me.
Come on, who's flyer, y'all? Come on now.
They're not gonna say you, babe. They're not gonna say you.
Woo, got it going on more.
It's me. It is me. It is me. First Lady of Bishop, y'all. Beauty of the Beast. Beauty or the Beast.
Come on now, come on, y'all. Be honest now. Don't be afraid of hurting First Lady's feeling by telling her that I wore it better.
No, I don't think so. I do want to shout out our daughter Shannon though, because Shannon is the one who got me into the fedora hats, and Shannon is also the one that bought that hat for her dad that he's wearing. You know, so we gotta give credit to her. So if we looking fly, it's because of our daughter.
Well, I look fly anyway.
No, I don't know. If we
look a little extra fly.
Let me take that back. So if we look fly in our hats, our fedora hats, it's because of our daughter. But Shannon has always given me little style tips. She is considered the stylist in the family. Hey, Whit. Hey, Whit. Mm-hmm.
Whitney, tell her that I look better. Tell her I'm wearing it better.
I love that hat. You know, Shannon got impeccable taste. I do love that hat on you, but no, babe, I'm gonna always beat you.
Don't hate.
I'm gonna always.
Congratulate.
You can't beat me.
Don't hate. Congratulate. You said
Nobody,
it's a tie.
nobody. No, she came back and said it's first lady. Oh,
No, she said
nobody
it's a
is voting for
tie.
you.
Who did?
Nobody's voting for you. Nobody.
Anyway.
It's me. It's me.
Anyway.
Can I make a couple of announcements before you go? You know, because it's your show, so you certainly take the lead in your show. But so Bishop, I already told you all about his program that's coming up. But I wanted to share with everybody that may be out there and now because of technology and now because we're doing a lot of our programming now virtually, everybody can be invited, everybody can participate all across the world, all across the country. So with that being said, the women in the NAACP, the Greater Springfield NAACP, we're going to be hosting our first ever Women's History Month Symposium on March the 27th at 12 o'clock Eastern Time. So I'm inviting all of you to certainly participate with us on that day. It's going to be virtual. It will be live streamed on the Greater Springfield NAACP page. But if you are interested in Zooming, please follow me at Cynthia Davis Swan on Facebook. Cynthia Davis Swan on Facebook. So if you can reach out to me, whatever, and become my friend, I will certainly, keep you posted on those events that's coming up. We're also having our last vaccination form on this Sunday, March the 21st. And Friday is First Lady's birthday. First Lady will be 54. I hope I don't look 54, but nevertheless, I'll be 54. And I thank God, if I make it to see it, it'll be on my 54th birthday. So, anyway.
All right. Once again, the Lift Every Voice lecture series, the 11th annual, the virtual edition, will be taking place in March, April, May. Take down the dates. March 30th, Dr. Keisha Blaine. April 27th, Dr. Freddie Haynes. May 26th, Dr. W. Franklin Richardson. All right. And we still may add another date, waiting for another confirmation, but put those dates in your calendar. You don't want to miss them. It'll be at 7 p.m. each of those evenings. We're going to have spoken word. We're going to have music. We're going to be giving out awards. And we're going to be having our keynote speaker in our 11th annual Lift Every Voice lecture series. You don't want to miss it. All right. Once again, Wednesday, in lieu of our midweek service, we'll be supporting the Pastors Council of Greater Springfield. My good friend, Pastor Mark Bayman, will be preaching this coming Wednesday. So go to Deliverance Center Ministries, and you can catch the live stream right there. And then on next Wednesday, the 24th, we'll be streaming live from the Spring of Hope Church, where I pastor, and I'll be preaching during the Pastors Council Lenten services. Then the following Wednesday, the Reverend Atu White in Mount Zion Church will be streaming, and then we're into Good Friday and Resurrection Sunday. Look, Resurrection Sunday, check it out. Just keep your eye out. We're going to have a dynamic service on Resurrection Sunday as well. So a lot of good things are happening coming up over the next several weeks. So just stick and stay with us. All right. We're out of here until the next time I talk to you and you talk to me. Always remember, I wore the hat best, and God loves you, and so do I. Peace.
Love y'all.